Welcome into this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. We're all about basketball once again, and joining me first is our head women's basketball coach, Dr. Britta Stevens. Coach, thanks for joining me as always. And Coach, obviously, last time we talked to you, you were on a long winning streak. That winning streak has continued. You've won the last two that we've talked since we've talked to you. Then you took a 92-78 decision against Southern Shreveport, and then beat Baton Rouge 77-68. We'll talk about the Baton Rouge game in a second. We'll talk about the Southern Shreveport game first. Your thoughts overall on this one, and we'll talk about it more in depth, but the record-breaking performance we saw out of Cookie Wilkinson in this one.
Oh, yeah. Everything about the Southern Shreveport game was unique. It was a 12-2 tip, and typically the women play first, but on this particular Saturday, the men needed to play first, so we reversed that, so we played it too. So it was a very unique day for us because I got to go and watch the men's game, and I'm sitting there going, all right, what do I do? You know, how do we do this? Because we're used to having a 60-minute warm-up, and in that one we only had the 20-minute warm-up. So unique day in a lot of ways. You know, we came out to a really, really slow start in this game. And was that because we had flipped it and didn't have as much time to warm up? Was it because we knew that Southern Shreveport, we had already beaten them one time and we felt like it was going to be easy? I don't know. But we came out to an extremely slow start in this game. I thought we did an extremely poor job on defense early in the game. I didn't think we shot the ball very well. We were taking too many threes to satisfy me. So at halftime, it was a tie ball game. And at halftime, when I got the stats, I told Coach Ray, I said, let me look at those stats. And when they told me Cookie had 26, I was like, there's no way. She has not scored that many points in the half. They were a very quiet 26 because she's taking shots in the flow of offense. She's taking excellent shots. And she's very sneaky. She gets a steal here and gets a basket, or she gets an offensive rebound and gets a basket. So a lot of those points, when you look at that, and that's something we really talked to Imani Key about, Cookie scoring a lot of points because she's offensive rebounding and she's getting steals, and that's allowing her to score all these points. So I had no idea that she had that many at the end of the game. I had no idea that it was the single season scoring record. I was worried about how can we win this game and how can we keep this winning streak alive? How can we protect our home court? She played incredibly well, and she is playing incredibly well right now. But if you look at the people around her, they are also playing very well, and they're what are allowing her to play well, and she is what is allowing them to play well. So I think we're in a really good spot. I think this team is clicking on a lot of cylinders. You know, Cam Pruitt's playing really well right now. Kyzar Bell's playing well. A couple of my kids who are not scoring, but Jay Robinson and Amari Barnes and Kaylee Johnson, they're playing extremely well for us and doing what they need to do to help us win. They're just not scoring. This was a game, Tyra Johnson, I thought she was the spark plug off the bench in this game. She came in, and her length and her size really affected Southern Shreveport. And then on offense, because, again, her length and her size, we were able to run some things to open her up inside, which got her layups, which in turn her layups opened up the outside. So Cookie and some of those others were able to hit some threes.
Yeah. And you look at the box score, and we've talked about it. The winning formula is you got to win at least 3 out of the 4 quarters that you play, and you did that in this one. Southern Shreveport took that first quarter 22-16. Girls rebounded, outscored them 23-17, and that's how you get 39 and 39 at half. And you mentioned it, Cookie had 26. She scored more by herself than you did in the entire first quarter, and really the second quarter. But then you look at it, third quarter you come out, you outscore them 22-12, and then the fourth quarter 31-27, a little defense optional quarter there. But that's how you get 92-78. And you look at the line score, and people listening back home, they're going, she had 26 at half. What she finished with? What's the single game record? If you haven't checked our social media or hadn't seen it yet, it's 44. And I've texted people around the league, other SIDs. I'm like, how many times have y'all seen a women's player go over 40 plus? And they said not very often. And in fact, we did some digging, reached out to Coach Quinn Young to find out if he could give us some information on it. And he gave us some names. We were able to look at it and to put it in perspective for people. The last time we saw 40 broken for a Co-Lin player was the 2002 season of Tiana Burns. She had 43. Before that, you have to go all the way back to 1976 with Miss Cindy Hodges-Williams, who is a huge fan of Lady Wolves basketball, is at nearly every game. She had 42 in a game in the 1976 season. So just to put it in perspective, 3 times in the last nearly 50 years, that's how special that performance is.
Yeah, it is a very special performance. And, I've coached one other player who scored 40 in a game. It is very rare in women's basketball. It's very rare in any type of basketball at our level for players to score that type of point. So it is a very big accomplishment. It is a very special accomplishment. You mentioned Cindy Williams, and she and Coach Coach Johnny come to every game, and I know them, and I don't always do a good job of introducing our players to people and things like that, but that's someone I really want Cookie to meet because those are two record holders who are in our gym together a lot of the time, and I think Cindy could give Cookie a lot of perspective moving forward on, because Cindy's got some really great stories about when she played at Southeastern and how different basketball was at that time. 3-point line and full court basketball was just coming into effect for women's basketball at that time. And my kids don't even know, our players, Cookie and Kai and Cam and those players, they don't even really know that basketball was very different back then. So she's a really good resource for us, and I would like for her and Cookie to have a conversation. It is rare and it is special, and it's something that we do need to celebrate. I'm not big on looking at records, and I asked you, and then the other night I said, well, I'm going to look and see where she's at in scoring. Cookie's the second leading scorer in the country. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge accomplishment. And again, you go, okay, well, she's taken all these shots, and she's playing so well because she's playing in the flow of our offense. She's taking really great shots. She's rebounding everything. She is doing all the little things right now. And that's something that she, as a player, I get no credit. My assistants get no credit as a player. Last year, we really talked about that. How do we improve? How do we get better? What makes me a better player? Her shooting percentage, especially early last year when she came in, was not great because she was transitioning from the high school game to the college game. And she really focused on that, and she really worked on that. And we looked at it, the shots we were taking, and she worked really hard. And now her percentages, it's unbelievable. She's shooting almost 47% from the field because she's taking great shots. And that's what's making her really successful. And again, those great shots are making everybody else around her successful. So it is something to be celebrated. She got State Player of the Week. I don't know if we've gotten information back on National Player of the Week. I'd be surprised if she didn't get that. And all of those things she's very deserving of.
You look at her week, for folks back home if you haven't seen it yet, 33 points she had in one game against Delgado, turned around. That was a career high for her, turned around, set that school record 44, averaged 38 and a half points per game. And you see that line alone, and it's just an eye-popping stat. So, Conference Player of the Week, definitely got that one. But you look at other performances in this one, Cam Pruitt, 19 points, 8 rebounds. Tyra Johnson, you mentioned her, 10.6 rebounds, floated with a double-double off the bench. You don't see a lot of players come off the bench and float with a double-double like that. So you mentioned her being a spark plug as well for you too. And so you look at that one, you feel like, you don't want to say you feel like you escaped, but you overcame a slow start. Yeah. Now, the Baton Rouge game, I put on the headline, you escaped this one. And it probably did feel that way because this one was very back and forth. You felt like you put it away late because Baton Rouge, you overcame a slow start. Baton Rouge was able to get a last-second three to take a lead at halftime. But your thoughts on this one and how the girls were able to pull it together and get a win in this one?
Yeah, you say escaped. I was a whole lot more comfortable at the end of this one than probably anyone who didn't watch the game knew. With 2 minutes left in the game, I had 3 timeouts in my pocket, and we had 3 fouls to give. So I knew if we could not turn it over, we were going to be fine in this game. And I purposely keep my timeouts in my pocket because in the women's game, unlike the men's game, we can timeout advance. Well, that changes our game. If I can timeout advance and we can get it in the half court and we can use that 30-second, the last I called timeout with 30, I think there was 32 seconds left in the game, and I told him, I said, get it in and dribble the clock out. We can take the shot clock violation. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And at that point, the game was well in hand. So escapes, I do think we came out to a slow start in this one. They shot it really well. We started in man, and that was something that, I wasn't sure how much man I wanted to play, so I wanted to start in man and see if we could guard it, and we did not do a very good job. Imani Key picked up 2 quick fouls guarding their best player. She had to come out, didn't play most of the first half because she was in foul trouble. We had a couple others that were in foul trouble that didn't get to play as much as they usually do, so that was good because we had some people on the bench who were able to step up. In the third quarter, I felt like our defense really got better. I felt like they got tired and we forced them into some bad shots or some questionable shots, and we were able to get rebounds. In that first half, and in the Southern Shreveport game too, we played a lot of zone in both of these games, and sometimes blocking out into zone is harder than it is in man. And I felt like we were just bobbling the ball around instead of grabbing it and demanding it. And in the second half, especially in this Baton Rouge game, we did a much better job of that. Again, I don't know what Tyra Johnson's stat line was in this game, but in the second half, we were able to put her in because of her length and because of her size. And she was able to really affect their shots and get a lot of rebounds that helped us win this game. Cam Pruitt was really good. Baton Rouge threw us a little curveball. Cookie had scored 44 on Saturday. So Paula, which is what I would have done too, comes out and plays us a box and one. And that's a little curveball ball for us because we haven't seen that before. And in the first half or the first quarter, someone called timeout. They called timeout, and the team is looking at me, and they're like, Coach, they're playing a box and one. And I'm like, okay, they're playing a box and one. We got 12 people on this team. I want Cookie to score. If she's open, I want her to shoot it. But if she is not open, one of you four others on the floor are going to have to step up and make plays. And I thought they did a really, really good job of that. We ran our stuff, and they made plays. And she was still able to make plays, too. Because they could make plays, they had to get out of their box and one, and then they were able to go back. They went back man, and we were able to run our stuff and be successful.
And you look at the box score, again, a game where you won 3 out of the 4 quarters. You win the first one 23-19, and we mentioned it was a little bit of a slow start. The girls really came on there at the end of the first quarter to have that lead. They outscored you 23-16 in the second. You outscored them 17-12 in the third, and in the fourth quarter really is where you kind of pulled away 21-14 in that one. And then you look at the line score. Cookie in this one, we'll say she only scored 20 points. Hey, 20 points is 20 points, especially when you're facing the defense that you haven't normally seen. But her line was a complete line. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. She really did a little bit of everything for you. Cam Pruitt in this one posted a double-double. One of 2 players had a double-double, 19 points, 10 rebounds. The other player who had a double-double is one that we've talked about a lot, that she hasn't really scored, but she's been finding ways to get assists. And this one, she gets 10 points and 10 assists, and that's Kyzar Bell. So anytime you get a guard that's able to give you double-digit assists and post a double-double, that's going to be a winning combination for you.
She was outstanding. I mean, outstanding in this game, and she has been outstanding all season. I don't know that I've talked enough about her or given her enough credit. In fact, one of the passes she made, I looked at the bench and I said, y'all, there's nobody else in this league that can make that pass because I didn't see it. I didn't see the person open. Her passing ability, her ability to see people open on the floor is unreal. And that's something we've had to talk about and work on. She's going to get you the ball if you're open. And sometimes our posts are like, oh, I'm surprised. Y'all better wake up because she's going to get you the ball. And so I thought she had a really good night. I thought she did a really good job in addition to the 10 points and 10 assists. She did a really good job on defense in this game. She is deceiving. She's not a great 6'1", long and lean body. She's 5'8", 5'9", a little stocky, and she can play, and she doesn't get tired. Her stamina is good. She's a lot faster than she looks like. Point guard is a hard position. It's the hardest position in basketball, and so I put so much pressure, and I coach her and Maddie Mitchell, she and Maddie Mitchell, so much harder than the others, and they don't always get the credit they deserve because they have a tough job. They have to get the ball down the floor, they have to run our team, and they're such valuable pieces of our team. In fact, Kai gets mad at me because sometimes she's like, Coach, I want to play the 2, and I'm like, I'd like for you to play the 2, but you got to get the ball down the floor. So I'm really glad that she had this kind of game, and she has been playing extremely well. Her stat line just has not shown it, so I'm glad she had kind of this night where her stats show us all how good she really is.
Yeah, the passing is something that we've seen at the home games and the away games that we've been to too. I've looked at Bryce Perry a couple times and going, I don't know how she saw that because I didn't see the player open and she saw it. And to further prove your point for Kyzar, 5 steals in this game as well too. It always seems like she's second or leading the team in steals every game. So just an overall really good game from Kyzar. You mentioned Tyra, 4 points, 4 rebounds. Again, a stat line that doesn't pop out at you, but a lot of times, as you mentioned, when she's playing, it's what you see on the tape that doesn't come over into the stat line that really impresses you with Tyra. Now you look ahead. You've got 2 games left. One at home, one on the road. It doesn't feel like it's near the end of the winter season, or the fall season, but we're here. And you got a chance to run this win streak to 9 games. Got a chance to get to double-digit wins and get close to the win total that you had last season. And the first one will be this Thursday. You're going to host the Lady Bulldogs of Hines, not the Lady Eagles, the Lady Bulldogs in basketball.
Always confusing when you play Hines.
I think it throws people off when they see that and they go, don't you mean Holton? No, we mean Hines. They are the Bulldogs in basketball. But what do we know about the Lady Bulldogs coming into this one? I know you and I have talked. You said they're a team that's much improved. Maybe you're going to be similar to the Lady Bears, but what do you know about them?
Well, and I want to go back because last year we came back from the break and we only played 2 games after Christmas. And so when we were making a schedule last year, I said, I want to play more games before we go home for about 3 weeks. So I may have gone a little crazy scheduling games because we've played 5 games. We're playing 5 games before we go home for the break. But again, we need that. We need to keep growing. And the breaks are good because we get a chance to rest, but the breaks are bad because all this chemistry we've built, all this progress that we've made. You lose a little bit of that when you go home for the break, and so that's why I wanted to play more games. So our kids are tired. I know they're tired. I know their legs are a little weary and everything because I've scheduled so many games in such a short time. But I don't regret doing that. If we get beat by Hines, I may come back and say, I do regret doing that. But I really don't regret doing that because we can practice 6 days a week, and we don't learn as much from 6 practices as we do from one game. So win, lose, or draw, we're going to get better by playing these last 2 games. Hines is a much improved team from last year. New coach who won a national championship as an assistant at Tyler, so someone who is very experienced and very knowledgeable. Has a mature team, has some returners, has some transfers, very mature, has a lot of depth. Similar to Baton Rouge, and honestly very similar to us. He has a lot of depth. In fact, yesterday when Rachel and I were watching film, I said, I don't know his rotation. I said, I can't figure it out because one night this person plays, and one night this person plays, and one night this person plays. And that's a little bit like us. You know, you'll see one night Maddie Mitchell plays the point a lot, and one night Kylan Bell plays the point a lot. You know, at the wing we have different people, and so a lot of similarities to us. Don't know that they shoot it great. Think they want to put it on the floor more and get to the basket. So I anticipate a little zone, a little man, a little pressing. I anticipate we're going to do what we do, which is kind of who we are every night. You know, we need shots to fall, and that's a good thing. We're in Mullen. It's the last home game of the fall season or the fall semester. We've not had many home games. We are road tested. If you go back and look at we've won 6 or 7 in a row. If you look at those 6 or 7 in a row that we've won, all but 1 or 2 have been on the road. So I think that is an advantage for us. But I'm excited to be at home. I'm excited that we get a chance to, right before the break, play in front of our home crowd and just get that experience under our belt. We're doing something, I've tried to do everything I could in 1 week this week. We've had a Christmas party. We've played 3 games. We're doing community service, and we're doing something unique at this game with Hines. Coach Sanders and I decided, you know, what can we do to help those in our community? So we got with a friend of ours at Pinecrest Guest Home in Hazelhurst, and we are collecting hats, scarves, gloves, snacks, things like that for the residents at Pinecrest Guest Home. So we're excited to be able to do that. You know, bring an item, come watch us play. It'll be a good night of basketball.
So, and then you'll go on the road, face a team that you've already beat once at a neutral site, LSU Eunice. This is a one that you could go. You escaped in this one, overcame some sluggish starts, some kind of maybe some bad play in that one. And the Lady Bengals are a team that I don't know if anybody can really get a sense of what they are. You know, you beat them. Southwest went over to Eunice and barely won there. But what do you know about that bunch? I know we've beaten them once, but they could be playing totally different from how they were just a few weeks ago when we played them. But what do we know about that bunch going over there?
Yeah, and you know, Kevin, I don't really like to look ahead, and I have not really watched them. I do know the other night they were playing Delta, and I screen recorded that game so we would have a chance to cut it. Last night I almost said, okay, I'm going to get ahead and look at Eunice. And I said, nope, that's bad juju, bad omen. Not doing that until after we win tonight. Don't know a lot about them other than we played. I felt like that game at Southwest for us was kind of a turning point game for us because we had struggled so much early turning the ball over. And Eunice is a team that presses a lot. They need to press to score. And that night they pressed us, and we broke their press and scored. And because we broke their press and scored, they had to get out of it. I also felt like that game was kind of a turning point for us because we had led most of the game, especially in the fourth quarter. We had led most of the fourth quarter. And late in that game, they took a lead, and we came to the bench deflated, and I said, there's a minute left. The game is not over. And we were able to not only get the lead back, we were able to get defensive stops and hold that lead and get a win. So I felt like that was a really big confidence booster for this very young team that we have. I feel like going to Eunice on Saturday is going to be very difficult. It is a 3.5-hour ride for a 2 p.m. tip-off. All of mine are excited about going home for the Christmas break. I am too, but we've got business to take care of, so I think that'll be, a little bit challenging. I only have 2 Louisiana players, so they know where LSU Eunice is at, and they're familiar with these players on LSU Eunice's roster. But my Mississippi kids have never heard of Eunice, Louisiana. They don't know that they're in their region. They don't know that these wins, and I haven't done a good job of talking to them about it, but these wins that we're getting right now are region wins that are going to help us down the road. We are playing region opponents, whereas some of the other teams in our conference are not playing region opponents. They're playing other opponents that are like D2 JUCO. And I just think playing these region opponents is better for us. It's helping us grow and get better. So let's don't look ahead. Let's go try to win tonight. And then I'll flip the page after we win tonight and start watching Eunice and figure out how to win. I know, like I said earlier, our kids are tired. So Friday practice will have to be light. It'll have to be a lot of shooting, and it'll have to be, what do we do to beat Eunice? I would be willing to bet, if I had to bet, it's going to be talking about breaking their press and not turning the ball over.
A game, the Eunice game, just looking back at that one real quick, game where Cam Pruitt and Jay Robinson both posted double-doubles for you. Cam with 21 and 10, Jay with 10 and 13. So lots of exciting things happening for the Lady Wolves. Again, they win a couple of games since the last time we talked. Cookie Wilkinson setting that singles game scoring record with 44 against Southern Shreveport in that win, and they picked up a win against Baton Rouge. They've got 2 left. You've got one final chance to see the Lady Wolves in Mullen before the Christmas break. That's this Thursday against the Lady Bulldogs. They have Hines tip-off at 5:30. Guys to follow at 7:30. So come out, come support the Lady Wolves and Wolves. Bring a donation for the Pinecrest group home as well, too, and come support the Lady Wolves and Wolves in their final home game before we have a break. And then the Lady Wolves will have one final game after that on the road at LSU Eunice this Saturday at 2 p.m. Stick with us through the break. Joining me next is our head men's basketball coach, David Sanders. We'll talk about how they've done in their last couple and then preview that Hines matchup as well, too.
At Copiah Lincoln Community College, you'll find a family of instructors and staff who truly care about your success. And not to mention a really fun college experience, too. Co-Lin was recently ranked #1 in the state for student success. So whether you need to start or finish your college degree, take classes on one of our 3 campuses or online, Co-Lin is the place to be.
Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Throwing you a little bit of a curveball. We told you Coach Sanders was joining us. We're actually going to have our assistant coach, Aaron McIntyre, join us. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Coach, obviously a week where you only played 1 game since the last time we talked to Coach Sanders. You picked up a win against Southern Shreveport, 98-86, a game where you nearly broke 100 and felt like you jumped out to a big lead, struggled a little bit. Baton Rouge, Southern Shreveport battled back. That's the words I was looking for. But your thoughts overall on how the guys were able to kind of sustain that and find a way to win this one?
Yeah, we jumped out to a 25-5 lead, and stuff kind of got their best player got into the paint a lot, got some and ones. They started making some more shots. But I like how we battled through adversity. Our team stuck together, played together, and came out with the big win.
So you look at the box score, 57 to 54 was the first half line, and then 41-32 in the second half. That's how you get that 98-86. And there was a time there in that second half where Prince Ojukwu, he scored about, I think it was 8 to 10 in a row just on him. Had a little mini run for himself, and that kind of felt like that was really the turning point. Southern Shreveport had gotten close there, but Brick had that little mini run for himself, scored both on the free throw line and in the field, and that felt like it was the point where the game kind of really turned in y'all's favor.
Yeah, Prince's work ethic is second to none. He's in the gym 24/7, working on his jump shot. We had some trouble with him at the beginning of the year with his jump shot, so he's starting to get in there, get more consistent, and we're going to need it.
And you look at the line scores for this one. Devin Bates did what Devin Bates does, 26 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. Dakota Hillard with a double-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds. And we talked about Prince, 15 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Coach Sanders and I have talked about it several times. You know what you're getting out of Devin and Dakota, and Prince really feels like he's the guy who's becoming that third guy for you, and he really is kind of a Swiss Army knife. He really does it all for you. But those 3 guys are really kind of the engine that makes everything run for you.
Yeah, if we can get Prince, JJ, Chris Stevens going, then we're going to be a pretty hard team to beat. With Devin and Dakota going.
I think one thing that you've got to point out in this one was the fact that, Javian Watkins didn't really play well in this one, kind of struggled. You brought Keyshawn Shields in, and he was able to kind of right the ship for you and really kind of be that 6th man off the bench that y'all need him to be. 15 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and a steal for Keyshawn. Probably his best game in a Wolves uniform. That's going to be big for you going forward.
Yeah, he's starting to solidify his spot. He's starting to get comfortable, and that's really all it takes. He's a freshman. He had growing pains, so he's starting to come along well, and we're going to need him in conference play.
And you look at We'll preview this matchup coming up. It's your last one. Guys get one final game at home before you get a long Christmas break, almost a month off. You bring them back for practice a little bit before everybody else comes back. But you've got the Bulldogs of Hines. What are we expecting out of them? Thursday night in Mullen, 7:30 tip-off is what time it's scheduled. But we all know it'll be 20 minutes after the girls end, no matter what time that is. But what do you know about that team coming into this one?
They're super athletic. They rebound well. They have a really good player in Jacoby Singleton. We're going to have to neutralize him. They have a good team. You know, they beat some really good teams. They beat Etowamba. They beat Mississippi Gulf Coast. So it's going to be a tough one, but I think it'll be a good one if we show up, and we're just going to try to protect our home court.
And you look at it so far, this is, again, we talked about it, your last game before the break. You've won 6 in a row. You got a chance to get to you got a chance to get to 8-4. At worst, you're going to be 7-5. And you look right now, the 4 losses are all the teams out of this region, out of the state. They're all Florida teams. All of those, you don't call them bad losses. A couple of those could have a couple of bounces go your way. You feel like you get a couple more wins. But you've handled business in these region games where you've played region opponents, and that's got to be something you and Coach Sanders both have liked to see out of this bunch, despite how young they are.
Yeah, we like to start with a hard schedule. So these games, I don't want to say feel easier, but they're, easier to prepare for. They know what to expect, and then they go out and play with the same intensity that they play with in Florida, then everything falls together.
Right. The 2 lone wins that have not been region wins, obviously Phillips and Baton Rouge post-grad as well, too. And you'll come back and play Phillips when we come back. We'll talk about that one later in January once we come back. But lots of exciting things happening for the Wolves. Again, they pick up a big win, 98-86 over Southern Shreveport. Your last chance to catch the Wolves before a long Christmas break is this Thursday against the Bulldogs of Hines at 7:30. Again, the girls will play before them at 5:30. Both of those in Mullen, and then the girls will go on the road to LSU Eunice this Saturday, tip-off at 2 on that one. Come on out, support the Wolves and Lady Wolves tonight. Again, if you do, bring a donation for Pinecrest Guest Home over in Hazelhurst. Coach Stevens talked about all those things that they're taking as well, too, for all of that. I'm Kevin Kyzar, our sports information coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.